Hello, everyone, and welcome to Unboxing Umbraco 9.5. Today, we're going to look at the brand new release of Umbraco that's just come out, sporting some really cool features and, of course, a bunch of fixes and nice improvements. To help me look at the new release, I've got a couple of my colleagues alongside with me, almost as per usual, I guess. Sebastiaan, would you introduce yourself?
Hello, Sebastiaan, the newly developer advocate at Umbraco. I have a new title since.
I think you've always been that, actually.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. And I guess the veteran developer advocate.
I suppose so. Yep. So it's me, Warren. But yeah, it's good to talk about unboxing and 9.5. This is the last one though, yeah? This is the last one before 10.
It actually is. It is the very last minor release of Umbraco 9 at least. We've actually just released the release candidate for Umbraco 10, but we'll take a little bit of a look at that later. For now, we're going to dive into 9.5. You might have already seen that there are release notes, actually extended release notes this time around. We don't have a full release candidate blog post. Kind of thought the release didn't really warrant it that thoroughly. There wasn't that much to shout about, but there's still some really cool features in there. So there's a pretty extensive release notes here, which also makes them nicely in context with all of the features and improvements and all the issues here. But why don't we just start out with the headliner, I guess, Sebastiaan. I think you've tried out the improved two-factor authentication.
Right. Yeah, I've been a very strong proponent of two-factor auth for years, and I'm super happy that we finally have something built into Umbraco that is really easy to extend. We used to have two-factor auth available anyway, but it was a bit hard to get started, and you had to do a lot of custom stuff. Hi. And I just got a package delivered, which I'm going to be unboxing soon.
Very nice.
That was only for back office previously, and right now we also have two-factor auth for members available. But I didn't look at that yet. But I have had a look at the new implementation of two-factor auth for back office users, and it's really cool, actually. So what we do every week is on our Discord server, we have something called Umbraco Lab Thursday, where I do something or someone else does something that is related to Umbraco for 1 hour, and we try to get something, either migrating a package from V8 to V9 or try and look at a pull request and see if we can get it finished in the hour. And this week, I had a look at implementing two-factor auth in Umbraco, and I thought it would be a bit boring to just follow the documentation. Documentation does set you up for Google Authenticator two-factor auth, which is, it's got a fancy name as well, but we all know it as Google Authenticator. But I have one of these. This is a YubiKey, and the YubiKey allows me. This is just a USB dongle. Allows me to put it in the PC, and whenever I touch the thingy here, it will generate a new code, and it's a unique code every time. And each of these keys are seeded with a unique ID, so we know that it's me who's registered this key, and it is me who has pressed the button. Try to implement that. So let me share a screen and give you an overview of how that looked. Which screen are we on? We're on this screen. Share. Right. You should be able to see my browser now. Cool. I naively took a look at the existing documentation, and I thought maybe I should try and adapt it. So the documentation has two-factor auth for members and for users described here. So I tried to follow that, and what I came up with in the end was something as literally as little as this. This is the most modifications we've made. So this I2Factor Auth or I2Factor Provider is what I implemented here. What YubiKey needs is a .NET client, a name, a random name, doesn't matter. That's mostly for the provider here. And then there's a few secrets here, which are now revealed. Actually, funny thing is that I can actually reveal these secrets because they're absolutely unique to my key that I have here. So it doesn't actually matter if you see my secrets, you can't break into my website anyway. Because it combines those secrets with the secrets on my key. So you need access to my physical dongle before you, that sounded wrong.
So don't take that key to Code Garden is one thing there.
Yeah.
Well, yes, I don't bring this one, so that's fine.
That almost sounds like three-factor authentication you're dabbling with there.
Absolutely. So yep, this is all we need. The I2Factor Provider needs a secret, which I have hard-coded to secret. For most two-factor providers, you will need an actual secret that you store locally, but my secret is on my key. And then the only thing we need to do is implement this validate two-factor PIN, which just sends the client ID plus a secret to the Umbraco service and make sure that the code coming back is the same as the code coming in. Then the documentation wants you to make a composer, which provides a view for setting up the two-factor auth service. And then the view is a HTML file. The most important part here is the input box where we will add one of the codes from the YubiKey.
That's pretty much just copied from the docs, right?
That's completely copied from the docs. Although the documentation will make it look like this, where there's a QR code. We don't need the QR code. We don't need the secret to be generated. I have that on my key. And then that ties together with a package manifest so that we can have a two-factor controller, basically, which is what this one is looking for. Oh, okay. I didn't know how I did that there. Yeah. JavaScript is also pretty much copied from the documentation. When we validate the first time, well, actually, yeah, the first time when we validate the key, we send in the token or the secret and the code. And if it's a success, then we save it. Otherwise, we don't. What does this look like then in the browser? I do have it set up now, so I should disable it first before we do this. When disabling, if I do it as a logged in user, I can't just disable it. I need to verify that it's still me who's doing this. It's for security, of course. So I still need to send another code, which I will do if I press the button on my thing on my laptop. So now it's disabled. If I log out and back in again, there we go. I don't get asked for anything, and then I can enable it again. Configure. I want to say, I need to give this a title, but it's semi-clear what's going on there. I need to give it a new randomly generated code that will end up there. Oh, I still have a breakpoint set somewhere. Oh, and I have an error. Amazing. Why do I have an error? Oh, because so my keyboard is set to international. If you can see here, there's a D instead of a C because I pressed a button before that. So if I do this again, now it should be okay. There you go. That's okay. So it was verifying correctly that my code was incorrect. So all good. I am happy. And then when I try to log in again, I should get the verification request. There we go. So that's all good. Everything is working now. And it was literally like maybe 12 lines of code that I actually had to make. One more thing to consider if you have multiple people with two factors, then admins in the user section can, oh, this one doesn't work, of course, because it doesn't have two factors added yet. But this one, we can, as an admin, disable the two-factor code so that if they forget or lose their key or whatever, we can still have someone with high privileges allowing them back into the back office. Of course, you need to know what you're doing when you do that. Oh, and of course, this is my user, so it still asks me if I want to do it. But if I were to configure this for the editor, I can disable it just for the editor without providing their key, of course, because I don't know their key, so that's fine.
Seems like that's thought of everything there.
Yeah, it seems like it. But that's it. That's two-factor auth.
Yeah, and it was a nice demo at Colab. It's always nice to see how far we can get in an hour on a Thursday at our lunchtimes, just to see. You followed along in the documentation.
Yeah, I didn't prepare anything either. Exactly. I hadn't looked at the documentation before, so I was like, okay, well, maybe I can do it. And indeed, after there were some struggles, but I was mostly trying to figure out which library to use to verify my YubiKey. Once I got that far, it was very straightforward. Yeah.
So join us every Thursday's Discord.
Yes.
Come join.
Yeah, and you can also watch it live on YouTube, right? On the Umbraco community channel, I think.
Correct. We'll post a link to the recording of this one with the blog post.
Yeah, and it'll be in the description here as well.
Right, and oh yeah, in the description as well. Yep.
Very nice. Okay, let's take a peek at some of the other stuff we've got in the release. So I've got a new installation of Umbraco 9.5 here, and there's a couple of things I think that are worth noting in this release. First off, there's a couple of new action buttons, actions you can do in the menus. First one is for member types. So it's a fairly straightforward one, but now if you right-click on a member type, we now have a copy action. This one was submitted by Bjarne Fürstenborg, who's done a million pull requests already, and here's another really, really nice one. It's just super useful to be able to copy your member types. Works totally as expected, as it does anywhere else in the back office. And then you can, I don't know, test out things or start working from where you were with the member type there. So just really, really useful feature. The other one we've got is in the translation section. Actually quite similar. When you have dictionary items, you can arrange them. They can be nested, so you can kind of have a little more organization of your back office, and it's really useful, especially for sites that have a lot of dictionary items. But it could also be if you're working on a project and the requirements change or new features come in, you might need to reorganize things. And that's actually possible now. So if I go in and right-click on the SEO dictionary item here, you can now see that there is a move action. Should also be quite familiar to most people who've worked with the back office. But we can choose where to put it in the tree. Let's say this is a translation for a tab title, for example, and then we put it under the tabs dictionary item, and now it's there. So again, quite simple, but fantastic functionality. I think there's a lot of people that are going to be really happy with it.
Yeah, we've been wanting this for a long time, and there was a pull request for V8 already, which didn't quite make it in V8. So I think it was Patrick who made this one, and it was
Johannes, I think.
Oh, okay.
Maybe? Yeah.
Maybe. Okay.
So he already had a package actually created that let you do this, but then he converted it into a pull request to the back office. So now it's available for everyone, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's really nice. Especially, I know that when you start doing some translations or dictionary items, it always starts out small like this, but as the project or the site increases, it just gets wildly out of control. So having to move some stuff about and reorganize it is super nice in terms of, rather than having to, I don't know what was the alternative before, delete it and recreate it and move it that way. I don't know.
That was most likely what you'd have to do.
Or you'd have to mess in the database.
Yeah, true. That was another option, I guess. But yeah, now it's a few clicks of a button, and then it all works. So that's really nice. The last one I want to highlight here is in the settings section. We have yet another dashboard. This time it's called Analytics. And that's because we've actually, with Umbraco 9.5, introduced, we'll call it telemetry for the CMS itself. So a couple of versions back, we introduced telemetry for packages. So what type of packages are installed, what version is installed, and things like that. And now we've expanded the telemetry to also potentially include information about each Umbraco installation out there. And the way it works is there are 3 different levels of statistics that you can allow us to collect. So the minimal one only sends an anonymized site ID. So that's basically what we did before as well. But now you also can opt in to, or basic is actually the default, I think, but you can allow to see the site ID, the Umbraco version, and packages installed. And then the extended one has a lot more in it, but it's still all anonymized information. So it's things like the number of content nodes, document types, things like that, OS language. So you could say meta information about your site almost, but we don't collect anything specific, neither for your content or your users or members or anything like that would allow us to identify it. Yep. So we hope that most projects out there can allow this according to their data policies. It should be okay, hopefully, and that as many as possible will actually select the detailed one, because I think it can be super helpful going forward and really help us make, more informed decisions about features and the roadmap and a ton of things. So please select detailed in the back office and hit the save button. That'd be super nice.
The way this works is that it defaults currently to basic, right? That's what we already have done. In the past, we've sent this basic information to our servers to collect the stats for it, but we hope that people will slide on over and choose detailed to help us out making better choices for the CMS in the future.
Yeah, super nice. I like this feature, and you can know that we're definitely not evil because all of our code is open source. So you can actually see what we're sending. If you're ever worried whatever data we are sending down the wire.
Exactly, and this dashboard will also be updated if we change what we collect in here, right? But you can see all the things that are being collected. They're all listed under each of the options here. So should be pretty transparent what's going on at least. But yeah, sure, you can go look at the source code as well and actually see for yourself. It's awesome. Very nice.
Trust but verify. It's a good stance.
Yeah, that's actually a good rule of thumb, I guess. Okay, dokes, that's what I had to show. Warren, I think you have a highlight as well.
Yeah, it's a very quick one, but I will just share my screen. So this is a nice bug fix. So in previous versions, obviously with .NET Core, we have all this fancy middleware that we can use in terms of using status code pages. And this is a nice one. So you can use a status code page with a re-execution. So what that means is that I can the web server or the site can respond with a 404. So if I go to /something doesn't exist.jpg or whatever, I get a 404, but I then can re-execute and in the background go to a page. So in this case, this is kind of a template syntax. So go to a page at the root, and in this case, it would be 404 or a 500 or a 303, like 302, anything that we would want. So with this now added, previously in 9.4 and lower, this wasn't working. So this is a nice fix. So it does work, but we have a site running, he says. So let's go to unboxing.jpg. So the original request doesn't change. So I'm not actually redirected to 404. The URL in the browser stays the same as unboxing. You can see the same in the request. We get a 404, but the rendered content down the wire is my actual 404 page, or the page or any other URL or template that I want to build. So it could have been my error pages. Yeah. You get the idea, and it doesn't necessarily need to be inside Umbraco. In my case, my 404 page is a content node in Umbraco. It could be just a normal MVC route, so it doesn't necessarily have to be coming from Umbraco. But we all love Umbraco, and it's just easy for me to just create another page that could handle these error pages. So nice and simple.
The curly 0 here.
Yes, is the templating.
In the URL.
So it would be /400 or /301 or a 500.
So that means we can have content items with those numbers.
Yeah, sure can. So let me, I can't throw a 500 probably quickly, but you can see that I've got a 404 page when I log in. So under my content tree, I've got 404. I could have one for 500. Hello, unboxing. Save and publish. I could obviously have some images or whatever. Hello set.jpg doesn't exist, and I get my 404.
Nice.
Yeah, very, very nice.
Very nice, yeah.
So yeah, nice bug fix that come in from the community. So kudos, and yeah, very handy. And again, we're going the format of .NET .NET Core. This is the standard in .NET Core. We're not making up some other convention to do this. So the docs for this is the docs you'd find for .NET Core.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually what we can just link to and say, this is how you do it, right?
Yep, it sure is.
Really nice. Fantastic. So cool.
I'll hand it back to you, Rune.
Well, I think I'll actually hand it over to Seb. We have a few more things to highlight in the release. Quickfires, I guess we could call them.
Yes.
Tiny boxes.
Let's see. Oh, I need this one open. We have received a pull request for something called Lottie files. Lottie files is a way to get animations from loads and loads of different frameworks or animation producers like After Effects and other things into your website, turns it into JSON animations. So if I wanted to get my After Effects file in Umbraco, like this one that I, in air quotes, didn't created. Mr. Bashir Ahmed created this one. We can now just use the regular old embed option in what's it called, the rich text editor, to take that file and get it. So, for example, if we want to use the free library from Lottie files, we can do that and get it into Umbraco. So we could see it's here now, animated by Bashir. And if we save and publish, I already have it open. Then I get it in here. And of course,
nice.
Want to change it, we can change it to a animated bodybuilder by taking the other URL. So it's just taking the URL from the site and bring it in there. Lovely. And refresh this one. Here we go. Also by Bashir, by the way. He's good at this. So that's support for Lottie files, and we've got Mark Goodson to thank for that one. And
yeah, thanks, Mark. That's really cool.
Really good. And then we have another contribution. I don't know where it opens. Got the URL, which was really cool. Nathan saw that when he was using rich text editors and switching between a lot of pages, that his memory started to run out after a while. And he found that we were not destroying the rich text editor object when we moved away from it. So we weren't removing it from the DOM. So anytime a new rich text editor would load, it would add a new one to the DOM, add a new one to the DOM. So nice little memory leak. Well, the memory leak wasn't nice, but the fix is very nice.
And definitely now that you can put the Lottie files animations in there, right?
Yeah, maybe it gets even worse. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. So it's a really great release, and there's actually quite a lot more included.
And then there's another one actually, which I forgot to mention, and that's the new cache locking.
Locking, yeah.
And I'll have to remind myself what it is.
I think the main issue was that some people will see file locks on the new caching files, right?
Yeah.
But it was kind of hard to pinpoint where it was going wrong because it wasn't easily reproducible.
Yeah, I know Paul in our team spent a lot of time trying to debug this issue, and I think he's finally got to the bottom of it. I know, Seb, you might have some more info.
Yeah, no, so this was actually, this is Robert Foster who found another good or bad problem there, is that when we load new cache into memory, we try to do it all at the same time, but we are now doing this in batches, so that if something happens, if there's like a timeout or something, it's not disastrous, and it will keep going until it's loaded all the batches properly. So that would have caused a thread aborted exception before, and now not so much. So let's hope that we'll all have some more fun with new cache files.
Good to see that fix. Cool. I guess the last couple of things before we head out is that there are 22 out of 36 contributions that have been made by community members.
Yep.
So it's pretty cool. 2/3 of the release is community driven. That's that's really nice to see. We've got a bunch of new contributors, 5 of them actually. You can see them highlighted in the blog post as well, but it is G. Patterson Smith, Michael Ryder, New Clip, Philip, or Paul Woodland, and Fixian NL.
Yeah.
So thanks and welcome to the community.
It's always fun when I can't find a proper name for people. I just have to put their GitHub name in there. It might be a bit cryptic.
Yeah. It's always good to add for example, your Twitter account to your GitHub profile. That makes it easier for us to thank you at a later date. Cool. I guess the last thing to say is that aside from, we actually mentioned this briefly, but aside from the 9.5 release, we actually have another release out as well, which is a release candidate for Umbraco 10.
Yeah, ooh la la, very nice.
Yeah, quite fancy. And you might think it's a bit fast. Didn't we just release 9? And I guess in the Umbraco world, it is very fast. We used to have a 7-year release cadence, I think, and we've brought that down to something
Was
like
it 7?
6 months. 6 months now. It's a little bit more for this one, because we just launched Umbraco 9 back in September. But going forward, it's going to be every 6 months. We're going to release a new major. Hopefully, this won't scare too many people. The idea is that we stick to only do breaking changes every 6 months, as opposed to whenever we felt like it in minor releases beforehand. So it should help make things a bit more predictable, right? We've used this ability to break things quite well in Umbraco 10, I'd say. Mainly, it's the framework update. So now there's full support for .NET 6, ASP.NET Core 6, and C# 10 as well. So some really great things.
Which is not necessarily a breaking change, I want to add. It should always just work. I mean, people have been using V9 with .NET 6 as well already. So,
yeah. I think there were a few things that needed to be updated, and there might be some packages and things like that as well, where it can have an effect that we've updated the framework, right? So it's good to highlight that. But yeah, just really great to see. Aside from that, another one of the big ones is a new database provider. Goodbye to good old trusty SQL CE, which has served Umbraco incredibly well for many, many years. But it's not really a viable format anymore, both because it's end of life and also because it doesn't really work at all cross-platform, which SQLite does. So now you should be able to really easily spin up Umbraco on a Mac or Linux or wherever you're working with it. So
yeah, it means no more running Docker on a Mac for just a database. It means you can just install .NET Core and install the Umbraco and get going. Really, really nice.
Yep. That's super cool. But there's a ton of other stuff, good stuff in Umbraco 10. Head over to the blog for the release candidate blog post, and it's available on NuGet now, so you can try it out. We hope you will. Let us know if you find anything that you think should be fixed before the final release. That's the whole point of doing a release candidate, right? So we look forward to hearing your feedback on that one as well. And I guess the only thing that's here left to say is good luck with your Umbraco 9 installations and making use of all the new great features in Umbraco 9.5. And I'll see you for the next unboxing, which will be Umbraco 10. Very exciting.
Very cool. All right.
Thanks, peeps.
Thanks very much. See you.
Bye.
Bye.